Hello and good afternoon, and a very warm welcome from me to our exciting Falcora webinar. My name is Tobias Storch, and I work in the marketing department at Xiting. Before we begin today's webinar, I would like to share a few housekeeping notes with you. To ensure the best possible quality, all participants will remain muted throughout the webinar. If you have any questions, please feel free to submit them at any time using the Q&A or chat function. And our speakers will answer them at the end of the session. Should you experience any technical issues, please use the chat function so that we can assist you as quickly as possible. The webinar is being recorded, and the recording will be made available to you afterwards. Please note that due to technical circumstances, there may be occasional brief fluctuations in our presenters' internet connection. We are doing everything we can to ensure a smooth webinar experience and appreciate your understanding. So that concludes my introduction, and I would like now to hand over to my colleagues, Alessandro Banzer, CEO of the Americas, as well as Moritz Holeschovsky, who is security monitoring. I wish you all an informative webinar. Moritz?
Okay, yeah, thank you very much for the introduction, Tobias, and welcome to our first webinar session regards the topic Falcora. Yeah, we plan 3 sessions. Today is the first one, and the focus for today will be the SAP into the SOC. That's the overall plan, and I'm really happy today to talk with you about this. Yeah, my name is Moritz. I'm in charge for the security monitoring team with Xiting, and my colleague Alessandro will support me with this presentation. Let me start first with a short agenda, what we plan today. Switch off to the next slide. Yeah, so we will take a look on the challenge regards the topic security monitoring, especially in the area of SAP. What can we do here, and what is the problem to bring the security monitoring stuff to the regular SOC team? Yeah, here are some challenge in this topic, and I would like to give you here some insights. What's the reason for it and how you can tackle it? Next slide is we would like to introduce you Falcora again. Overview, what is Falcora, what's behind here, what's the mission and vision of Falcora, and what can you expect with the usage of Falcora. And the third chapter will focus on what's new. Yeah, you know, Falcora is a quite new product. Really released it in April this year. So we do a lot of stuff with it, and there's a quite fast development with different functionalities, no models and so on, and that's the reason for chapter number 3 to take a look on it. And last but not least, we will focus on the operation and response stuff. That means we will take a look into how you can use Falcora and what is the added value of Falcora in the scenario of detection and response. Yeah. Okay, let me jump first to the challenge slide. Yeah, and I guess this sentence is really important. Yeah, that SAP is often a blind spot on SOC. Yeah, on the regular SOC. Yeah, and for me, it's every time important to share you some information how you can see this security monitoring tool Falcora and what's behind here. I guess all of you or a lot of you know the NIST framework. It's the basement or the foundation to bring up different security stuff in your organization, and there are 6 different areas you can tackle: govern, identify, and protect. These areas are more on the proactive stuff. That means if something happened before, yeah, that means you can do some hardening on your system, you make your system more secure, yeah, to bring up risk assessment. So all stuff is proactive, yeah, to avoid that something happened on the system. Yeah, today with Falcora and the idea of our exciting security monitoring solutions is the area of detect and response. Yeah, this is the core area. We will focus today on it, and yeah, that means we will do some kind of detection stuff, continuous monitoring of logs or vulnerabilities. Yeah, We will see how the different analyzers work, yeah, to see what kind of thing happened, or what kind of security signal happened on your system, and bring the stuff to any kind of decision, yeah. And this decision stuff comes up with a response. That means you have a clear incident process, clear incident management, and this is the area where Falcora will support you and bring an added value in this construct, yeah. And maybe some of you already know another really important slide for me, because a lot of people have another understanding about these different terms and vocabulary, especially the SIEM stuff, Security Information Event Management System. Yeah, for me, it's the technical foundation of it. That means different logs, yeah, different log signals, log information from SAP or non-SAP will be gathered together on a central system. And in the central system, there happens some kind of normalization and correlation with these logs. Normalization means that the logs comes up in a right structure. So the structure is known by the SIEM solution, and that the SIEM solution can understand the structure and can work on it. Yeah, this is really important to get an understanding about the different logs. Yeah, because not every log type looks similar, especially in the SAP area. You have a lot of log types. Yeah, you can check, especially in the area of ABAPs, there are more than 10 log types, different log types, and all these log types has a different structure. So that's really important that the SIEM solution get an understanding about the structure, about the log type, and can use this for analysis. Yeah, or for this alerting generation. And this alerting generation means there any kind of use case predefined on the SIEM solution, like debugging and replace, for example, on a productive system. And this stuff can be monitored. So the SIEM system will check that this different log combination correlation happen. And with this information, if this match, the SIEM solution will be raise up an alert. Yeah, and this alert is a technical alert. Yeah, this is not a qualified alert in this case. Yeah, so and for the qualification of such an alert, you will need a SOC team, the Security Operations Center, and on the center there's an additional layer. The operation stuff happens. That means here is a clear operational team in place, SOC analysts, different processes running. Yeah, to take care on this alert, this technical alert, and make an evaluation to set up this alert to a qualified alert. And the results coming up with this evaluation are, this alert could be a false positive. It's not a real alert. Yeah, it's maybe something was misconfigured on a system, or a maintenance window happened and you have a bunch of alerts coming up with this area. That could be a false positive. Yeah, another result could be it's an improper operation. That means something is not configured in the right way. Yeah, maybe some too much authorization or something like this happened on your system and will be detected by the SIEM solution, but it's not a clear incident. Yeah, and the last result of such an evaluation is a malicious behavior, and this malicious behavior leads then to an incident. Yeah, and for this you need an incident response process, incident response plan, and maybe an additional tool. Yeah. And for the incident, yeah, this is really important to understand. Every incident costs a lot of money. Yeah, that means you have a clear management retention on it, and a lot of other team members will join, because the priority of such an incident in your company it's really high. So a lot of people will join here. A lot of pressure is on it. So this is really important for the SOC team to filter then only the incidents they are important, and bring it then into the incident response processes. Yeah. So on both the SIEM and the SOC, in my meaning, yeah, technology and operation, that leads to an effective security monitoring stuff. Yeah. And now I would like to jump to the challenge. Yeah. I guess there are a lot of challenge to handle it, and in a practical way, I've talked in the past weeks or months a lot with different SOC teams. SOC teams are in charge for infrastructure, OS, database stuff and so on. And I bring it up. Yeah, here, what is with SAP? Are you interested in it to learn it? Yeah, would you like to get a training or an understanding about this SAP security monitoring stuff work? And then I often heard that this is not our business. Yeah, security monitoring in the SAP area, that should be lead to sub bases. Yeah, and this is not our business. Yeah, to do this, to handle it. Yeah, we don't want to do this. Yeah, and this is often the real world of it. Yeah, and this is a problem because it leads to this blind spot of SAP stuff. And SAP is a really important system on your landscape, especially what kind of data is in there and so on. It makes really sense to do any kind of sufficient security monitoring on it. Yeah, and yeah, there are a lot of stuff to identify on it, like privilege escalation. Yeah, you will get new authorization into an SAP system. This information you would like to know if something like this happened. Yeah, in best case in real time. Yeah, to react really fast on it. Yeah, to avoid such of damage. The same as with debug and replace. That's an often case that some of the developer, or I don't know, some of high privileged user use it to go to the productive systems and running any kind of debugging. Yeah, all this information is in the logs. Yeah, but if you don't have any SIEM solution or any efficient security monitoring in place, yeah, you will not identify it. Yeah, you cannot react and will not see it, and this leads to a big problem with your SAP landscape. Yeah, other stuff like suspicious admin activity or data exfiltration are important as well. Yeah. And often, yeah, that's the last point here, that's the application layer of SAP is completely a blind spot. Yeah. And yeah, if you have no visibility, you cannot react on it. Yeah. And if such things happened on your system, you have not the transparency about this. And this leads to big problems. Yeah. To handle in real time on it, to avoid such things. Yeah. And for this side here is we bring up Falcora into this because Falcora can help you to improve the stuff and tackle these problems within. Yeah, the idea of Falcora is that Falcora is an additional layer, yeah, between your detection, between your SOC, yeah, to help you to understand such kind of SAP-related security alerts coming up from the SIEM solution. Yeah, that means Falcora has a clear model there. That's the operational model, and within this operational model, Falcora get an understanding what kind of alert this is. That get an understanding how you can handle this alert. Yeah, it helps you with business risk. Yeah, with SAP domain knowledge. Yeah, to prioritize such kind of alert, explain user alert, yeah, to tackle here the problem with less expertise to handle SAP security alert. It will explain this alert, and in best case, it offers a recommendation. How do you handle this alert? Yeah, this is really important. Yeah, Falcora gives you a recommendation. Yeah, and for such kind of analysis and this 4 steps, Falcora will use different AI options, yeah, to tackle this stuff, because AI with Falcora is a core functionality. Without AI, Falcora will not be possible. Yeah, that's not possible to handle it. And this AI usage has a lot of improvements here, and this helps a lot to change the blind spot, yeah, for your SOC team to make here transparency on the stuff and have here the opportunity to bring up security monitoring for SAP in the right way on your systems. From the architecture view, Falcora, yeah, it's what I say is a layer between, yeah. And I've built up here as a completely security monitoring solution overview, what we offered from Xiting and what different options will be used, yeah, to get the flow of the log, yeah, from the beginning on the source system or satellite system on the left side here of the slides, yeah, to get the flow of the log from log to alert to incident. So that means end-to-end integration. Yeah, all these different models and functionality come together and deliver this stuff for you. On the left side, you see the SAP on-prem stuff. I guess that's really, I guess some of you are already familiar with this stuff. We have ABAP system, we have Java systems and HANA system. And I guess you have already heard about the different logs there are on the system. And these logs can be extracted then. And these logs will be then forwarded to the SIEM connector. And on the SIEM connector, yeah, you have the chance to do this special SIEM stuff. That means the normalization happened on the SIEM connector for the on-prem world. Yeah, HANA, Java, ABAP. Yeah, there are already some detection pattern running on the SIEM connector. That means we have over 70 different detection patterns. Yeah, to do the SIEM work on it, to generate alerts. Yeah. For the different logs coming up through the SIEM connector. And this is a core component of this detection area if you go to the NIST framework. And this core component is running on the ABAP itself. So you need not any kind of additional stuff here. All the satellite systems will be connected to the SIEM connector on-prem, and the SIEM connector will do then the alerting and the gathering of different logs. Yeah. And we will do the same on SAP Cloud stuff. Yeah, like we have the option to connect different SRS solutions like SuccessFactors, Ariba Analytics Cloud, S/4HANA Public Cloud, and last but not least, the BTP logs. Yeah, we will use it. Yeah, to gather this log information from the different application and bringing on an additional SIEM connector. And this SIEM connector is in charge for the cloud stuff. Yeah, this will be a component of Falcora as well. Yeah, the SIEM connector itself here, it's a component of the XAMPP solution. Yeah, and the new SIEM connector that coming up in September 26, yeah, that will be based on Falcora, and they do the same stuff like the SIEM connector here. There will happen some kind of normalization. We have the detection pattern in place for SRS solutions, SAP SRS solution for BTP logs and so on. We have here implemented detection pattern, and we have a persistence layer here to store the logs and alert information. Yeah. And this is important to get an understanding. This is the detection area. Yeah. And the next step is, what is to do with this alert? Yeah, remember on this view, on the slide what I've shown you before. Yeah, now we have a technical alert, and next step is to qualify the alert. Yeah, to make an evaluation on it. Yeah, to identify, is this a false positive? Is this improper operation, or is this a kind of malicious behavior? Yeah, for this, Falcora comes in place. Falcora is based on the Azure platform. Yeah. We have Falcora is a multi-tenant solution. That means every customer they run with Falcora has a completely isolated tenant. And within Falcora, they're running different modules. Yeah. One of the core model is the operation model. And this model does what I say. Yeah. This model goes through your alert and make an evaluation on it alert and helps you with a recommendation, to define here a decision. That means you bring technical alerts here to a decision, improper operation, false positive, or a malicious behavior or / incident. Yeah, this happened in the operation module with the support of AI. In addition, we will set up another module within Falcora. That's the security nodes module. That's new. And later on, I have 2 slides about this, but really important. This is a kind of security monitoring or a part in our view of security monitoring. This information are really important for Falcora to get an updated situation overview, what kind of nodes are important, what are the vulnerabilities. And this information should be flew into Falcora to help you to qualify the alerts. And so that is a really important module for us. And this is new now and are set up. Yeah. Another module, what is in the beta version now available, that is the response module. That means we have some SOAR functionalities, automatic playbook. Yeah, Alessandro will show you later a little bit more details about this, how it works. Yeah, but really important is here that you can run your playbooks. Yeah, and you can automatically react on some kind of alerts. Yeah, that means you can block a user, for example, or you can enrich the alert with different information, yeah, from other systems like the ERS system, for example, identity management system, or our central tool XSP, the Xiting security platform. Yeah, this information can be bring up here with the response module. There are different connectors available and different playbooks running on it. And last but not least, yeah, that is the last module of Falcora. That's the forensic module. We would like, that's one of my heart project, yeah, because I guess it's really important that there is a central place available where you can store your logs for long-term forensic stuff. That means you have here the chance to set up commands to ask the data lake or this forensic module, what happened in my system 6 months ago, yeah? Who has do the debugging and replace? Who has triggered the CUL event on the security audit log? Yeah, this information will be stored here with a clear retention. Yeah, and will help us to do forensic work on it. Yeah, and this forensic stuff, this log information, will be used in addition in our operational module for Falcora as well to do any kind of enrichment. Yeah. And then last but not least, and one other important stuff, we are working on the integration stuff. That means we have integrated the standard incident response tool like ServiceNow, like Jira, and ticketing systems. And we have started to connect here other SIEM solutions as well, because some of our customers would like to bring up the sub world into their central SIEM like Sentinel. This is possible as well. And we are quite open here for new connections, yeah, to other solutions, yeah, and yeah, this is really important to understand, yeah. So let me show you in a quick word some stuff regards the process, yeah, how it looks like, yeah. On the left side, yeah, you have the alerts. That's the technical alerts, and this stuff happened in the operational module of Falcora. We have this technical alerts, and Falcora supports you on the first phase of this alerts. That means Falcora will automatically set up any kind of investigation, yeah. Falcora will use content from the content database, yeah, that is the core of Falcora. All of our experience are in this content database to handle such alert, yeah, to close the gap, yeah, with security monitoring knowledge. Yeah, this is all based into this central database, and this will be used in the whole process, yeah, to help to guide the alerts through this process to bring up the alert, yeah, to a clear decision, yeah. For this, Falcora supports you to set up the investigation. It will check, is this a false positive? That will be automatically work, yeah. If it's a false positive, yeah, they will close the investigation. All stuff is documented here, yeah. If it's not a false positive, that goes to the next steps. That means Falcora will trigger then the performed detailed alert investigation. They reach out, for example, a system owner and ask the system owner directly, yeah, with Teams, yeah, with an email, yeah, to ask the system owner, what happened on your system? The security audit log is switched off, yeah. Do you know about this? Is this suspicious or not? So there's any kind of interview happened. It happened with the effective user as well. Or if you have, for example, an authorization team or something like this, Falcora knows this and goes then directly automatically to this content providers then or information providers and interviews these guys, yeah. And this is the idea that Falcora will gather all information, and with this information they will prepare a kind of recommendation, yeah. That means here, so, sorry, I forgot to show you here the screenshots. Yeah, this is the false positive triage, what happens. The next performed detailed alert investigation. And then that's the point with the human in the loop for it. We will use here an NI recommendation. So all information will be bring together. All information will be analyzed by Falcora with AI, with the database, and setting up any kind of AI recommendation. And in the best case, the SOC analyst, yeah, will confirm it. Yeah, click only a button and say it's good for me, and then the next steps, Falcora will help here as well to set up, okay, it's improper operation. Yeah, we need here risk assessment on it or a risk indicators for it to handle it. Yeah, and further, maybe set up additional project to close the risk or make it visible to the management. Or another point is here, you can confirm directly an incident. The integration with ServiceNow happened. Falcora will document it all stuff and bring it up then or set up then an incident on the ServiceNow level with all information and all additional steps to handle this incident. Yeah. Right. So this is important. Yeah. This is the core of Falcora. That is this knowledge database. Yeah. That means in this knowledge database, yeah, what we offer to all of our customers, there are different alert patterns names. There are the SOP, the standard operating procedures, how you can handle such kind of alert. This information is all in this database. Yeah. And all stuff, what you do on an operation level will be stored in this database as well. That means if in one case, maybe the AI was not right with the recommendation, yeah, and the SOC level 3 analysts say, okay, I'm not happy with it. That's completely another verdict, yeah. And if the SOC analysts change it, yeah, Falcora gathers the information as well, bring it up to the database, and if this case happens again, Falcora do any kind of self-learning, yeah, to make an adjustment on the different rates behind there, and then you get a clearer, improved recommendation if this case happened again. Yeah, this stuff happened all on this database. Yeah, and this database will grow up with different research what we deliver from Xiting. Yeah, but a lot of stuff is already in there, and this helps a lot to close the gap. Yeah, and the problem that's no expertise there, and there is no knowledge to handle SAP security related alerts and security related monitoring signals. Yeah, this will be here in this database. Yeah. Okay, so what's new with Falcora? Yeah, and I've already teasered it a little bit. We have set up in Falcora a new security nodes functionality, a new model. Yeah, and yeah, what I've already mentioned, this model is really important on the security monitoring perspective. That's the reason why it's in there. Yeah. But really important, there's a differentiation if you compare it with the normal information you get from the security node stuff from SAP, the official stuff. Yeah, you get here only general information from SAP, a CVSS score, for example, and some advice and some stuff. It's in the node, but it's really limited. Yeah. With Falcora, you get a clear node intelligence. That means you get a clear list. Yeah, what is the exploitability of such kind of nodes? Yeah, is this a possibility to detect these nodes? Yeah, you can combine detection pattern with this node. This information will be stored here into the security nodes model, into this node intelligence. Yeah, and give you a completely new view. How do you evaluate such kind of node? Yeah, if we have later some time, Alessandro will take a look on it and to show you a little bit how it works and what is behind here. Yeah. In addition, there is an automatically process, yeah, for the priority detection, yeah, and automatically process to gather the status of the node. So it's really important that you have here an end-to-end node lifecycle to see which status is the node. Is the node already implemented? Is for this node only a ticket on the sub-basis team to start the implementation? Falcora will recognize this stuff. That means they will contact the ServiceNow tool, for example, and get an real-time status of it. And this information will be flew then to Falcora that you are here completely up to date in which state of life cycle the node is now. Yeah, this is really important. And in addition, you have some dashboard functionalities with Falcora, especially from the management view. Yeah, if your management asked here to give you some information about what happened, how's the status of the different nodes, this is all in Falcora possible to create such a report for your management automatically. Yeah. So this is a new component, yeah, and maybe later we have some times to take a look on it, yeah. In addition, what's another point that's really important, yeah, and this comes up with my experience to set up such kind of projects, yeah, because for me, it's important, in the past that Falcora or the security monitoring stuff, it's a kind of niche stuff. Not so many customer do this, And for me, it's important to bring it out from this niche, to have low boundaries to make any kind of implementation, Because if I start my career, that was a lot of to do to configure a SIEM solution. Then I have to do this. A lot of technical stuff has to do, a lot of customization on the pattern, for example, or on the use case to customize it on the different customer landscapes and so on. And this is a high boundary to do this. And for this, the idea with Falcora and the whole construct, is to set the boundaries low, to have the chance to set up a proof of concept, with the SIEM connector in combination with Falcora, and to bring it up within 7 days. It's a kind of challenge, but we try it with some of our partners. It looks like that is feasible, but important is here, we limited the scope a little bit, because we are planning here only with 10 standard use case, so 10 pattern we will enroll here. And the idea with this pattern are from the structure really clear. So not so many customization is mandatory to do this on the customer side. And this avoid or brings up a lot of time improvements to be faster. Another topic is I would not like to connect so much system to it. At the beginning, it makes sense to connect 2 ABAP system as a satellite system, maybe to 1 central system. That makes really sense. To get a starting on it, to get a feeling on it, how the stuff work, and to get familiar with this security monitoring stuff for SAP. So this is my personal challenge. At the moment, it looks like it's feasible, but have this in mind, with a limited scope, But this is, again, a recommendation from me as well. It makes no sense to activate 70 pattern directly on your system. You will overload it with different with alerts. You cannot handle it. Falcora could help you here. But it makes sense to start first. With 10 patterns, then extend the list with 20 pattern and so on, and learn on this topic step by step. And this is the idea from us from Xiting. To grow up. To have here the possibility that customer can run it really fast. That's the idea here. And one point here, if you would like to request a kind of POC for the stuff, or you're interested in it, you can click the link and you can go there. Okay, then I would like to hand over to Alessandro now.
Thank you, Moritz. Let's look into a couple more things, and especially like some real-life scenarios where really Falcora comes to shine. And this is really more like towards like from an operation perspective, how would we respond to it? Moritz mentioned already with containment and enrichment actions. And we just prepared a few examples that we can show how Falcora really comes together. Moritz, maybe next slide, please. And so let's just take like one real life scenario. I have like 3 slides that we use to dissect it first, and then we'll jump into the system in a little bit. But when we look at like one scenario, for example, this is an account takeover. And when we look at an account takeover, and this is a great example because we'll see from the ground up why this is something that is very difficult to spot when we just look at the SIEM and we don't have the SOC view on it. So when we think about an account takeover, what happened here? So first, we have a user, like a user admin, like for example, myself. I have extensive access in the system. I go into, for example, my production system, and I have in production, I have access to do SU01 because that's my job, whatever. Or maybe I got that access, but I shouldn't have it. But regardless, I'm going into a productive system. I run SU01. I do a user maintenance. And I open a user up and I change that user. So I do a role assignment, I assign the user, like for example, I'm taking Moritz's account and assign a role to him. And then I also reset Moritz's password and save it. That's one event that I did. And then I use that password that I reset. So I reset Moritz's account and I use that password now to log on to production as Moritz. So I, as Alessandro, I reset and change Moritz's account, reset the password, and I log on to it. And then I'm in production, not as Alessandro. I'm now in production as Moritz. And so what we can see here is Everything now happened within SAP. So this is purely on the application side. It never touches like a network or other endpoints. It's really within SAP. And on the next slide, we will see that such an account takeover that I was now just laying out is different events. So on the next slide, we can see that for this one, let's call it incident, we had different events that a SIEM system one by one now saw and detected and were alerted. So for example, the first thing that we can pull with our SIEM connectors, for example, are the change documents, user change documents. So I can see in the user change document that I, as Alessandro, I changed Moritz's account. I did a password reset. I assigned a role. I did some account modification. And that's one source of change documents. And so it's one event where I made a change. That by itself might be something I do daily because I'm a user administrator, nothing critical, nothing that alerts anyone. By itself, it's okay. Obviously, the password reset, again, that's part of change documents. We see that there. And then I also logged on as Moritz because I reset the password. So the password was known to me. And I used that account to log on. That by itself, again, I go into the sub GUI, enter my password, log on. That by itself, not a big problem. But now altogether, in a chain of events, that's now an account takeover, right? Because I modified another user's account. Those are certain events that a SIEM system detected. And I used the same account to log on. And again, another individual event that was triggered. And now with Falcora, we orchestrate that. We bring it together. We add the layer on top. And then we can see, okay, now from 3 individual events, we now really have an incident. There's a case now that we have to investigate and act. And so that's now, again, from events, now we have a case, and that's what Falcora will show us. And on the next slide, we will see that with such an event now, because it's based on pure log data like change documents. Now with Falcora, we do the enrichment, we can decide, and we can do containment as well. So that's the SOAR, that's our security orchestration and automated response. So we can also respond to events directly out of Falcora. From a response perspective, that's the beta module that Moritz was mentioning earlier. That's just now in beta available. And with Falcora, the intention is that we use your existing landscape. So if you have, for example, a sub GRC, like an access control, an IHE, or use our tools like XMS or XSP or other solutions, we now tie into those. We have different connectors to tie into that. And what do we do there is not just the response. We also have enrichment capabilities, because when we look at our account takeover, the first step was that I went in and I assigned a role to Moritz or to any user. Moritz is just my example. Now, with enrichment, we try to understand what happened. So we try to establish the timeline, evidence. And so, for example, we can now run automatically from Falcora. We can say, okay, let's run a risk analysis, for example, against XSP. Let's risk analyze the assignment that I did. For example, I assigned a role to Moritz. Now let's see if that is a critical authorization, whether that causes an SOD conflict, and so on. So we can do enrichment on actions that happen. That's just one example. There's obviously others. In this example, it was an account takeover, but it could also be that I do a self-assignment of authorizations in production. I assign a role to myself, or I assign myself sub-all or something like that. And we can also do enrichment to understand what I assigned. What is that? Is it simple, non-critical authorizations, or is it something very critical that really needs further investigation? And that's what we do as part of the enrichment. And then obviously on the other side, we can also trigger containment. That's the response where we can say, okay, now let's trigger a playbook. We call it playbooks, and then playbooks call different actions. And I can say, okay, let's remove the critical role from the user because there's no ticket to it, which we could, if we tie into like Jira or ServiceNow, we could also see if there's a ticket associated to a change. If not, and we cannot establish that, then okay, the playbook says, okay, let's remove the authorizations, lock the user, force a re-authentication. we trigger some containment action to really respond to the alert. And all that is handled by Falcora. We can customize that, and then we really get into a more automated, autonomous way of responding to the incidents. Obviously, we think about human in the loop, so a lot of the actions are gated. So it's a manual trigger. It gives us, at least when we get started with Falcora, it gives us the recommendation of the next steps. But then I, as a user, as a SOC analyst, or as a system owner, I have to trigger those activities. Eventually, the goal is that we get to a high degree of certainty that what Falcora tells us is right. It's the right course of action, and the confidence gets up. We have a confidence score along with it, and so on. And Falcora learns by itself. So if there's a mistake and we tell it why it was wrong, that's why data quality is very, very important. But Falcora also learns by itself. So if something is not 100% correct the first time, we try to get there by doing it right the next time. And eventually we have a very high confidence that, hopefully we can get into more, automated responses as well. But that's what Falcora does. The same thing on the next slide when we look at a completely different scenario. Moritz was mentioning the node intelligence that we have, like for subnodes. Same thing there. We have also a process. So we also think in processes a lot with Falcora. It's not just tools that we throw at a wall and we hope it sticks somehow. We really think about end-to-end processes. The same thing for subnodes as well. So we all have to deal with the subnodes. We have the patch Tuesday every month. We have hot news throughout the month that we have to analyze, decide on. So here we have like an automated process as well. And also here we have the human in the loop. So we have a lot of automations with Falcora where we read the nodes automatically, we analyze them, we enrich it, we do the entire intelligence. I'll show that in the system in a second. And then we run a triage, same as we do with the alerts that we have. We do a triage, we weigh what happened, and then we give you as a system owner, for example, the decision. So the human in the loop is always there. You choose the next response, the next action. It's always the human that needs to make that decision. Until we get to a very high confidence level, then we can obviously think about automations. But also here for the patch management, we run the triage. We tell you, what we think is the course of action. You decide, and then Falcora in the backend, monitors and also verifies. So if we say, okay, this patch needs to be applied immediately, we, for example, would create a ticket in ServiceNow or Jira, or if you're a Grow customer in the me.sap.com, for example, to have SAP implement the node. But that doesn't end our process. That doesn't end there. We go a step further and say, okay, we told our basis team or SAP to implement the node because it's urgent. It's highly likely to be exploitable, so it needs to be patched right away. We send that to, for example, a Jira. We pull the status. Basis eventually says, okay, it's been implemented, but we don't leave it there. We then also verify. So we also make sure, Falcora makes sure that if Basis says node's been implemented, that we verify the implementation status. Is it really implemented? Did the system get restarted, and so on? Because there's a lot of activities that sometimes need to follow an implementation. Again, here, the human in the loop is part of it. So it's a real life scenario, like you probably do it today, more on the manual side. And you as an individual, as a system owner, as a person, you're always in the loop, and you make the hard decisions. You have to say whether we patch now, we patch later, and then Falcora does the end-to-end process around it. Perfect. Then I think, Moritz, we have a few minutes, right, to maybe just very quickly go into the system to show a couple of things, especially for those of you that haven't seen it yet. We have the next two sessions where we will be way more in the system. So today was a little bit more slides, but next time we definitely go more into the system. But let me share my screen, and then we will show you just maybe 1-2 things. Just 1 second. It is coming up. And Moritz, if you maybe can quickly tell me if you can see it, because I don't see it myself when I'm sharing. We
can see it, Alessandro.
Okay, perfect. yeah, so obviously for those who haven't seen Falcora yet, it's SaaS web-based, so it's we access it through a browser. I just want to show a couple things that worth showing. We have a dedicated session. I think it's session 3 on the automation on the response side. So we will show the response, how we respond, how we integrate with other solutions in that session 3. But obviously we have different dashboard, different visibility into it, so we can see all our cases that are here, that came in. We can always see, like we said earlier, we can always see the explanation from AI. So AI gives us the verdicts. AI tells us with all our logic that we implemented, what should be the course of action. So that could be for all our alerts that came in. The same thing for our security nodes. So maybe let me just look into the security nodes, because we will talk about the incidents in the next 2 sessions for sure. But when we look at just the security nodes, just so you get a feeling for it, just a second. There we go. So we can see, for example, here we have all the security nodes in a list. And like I said, the first thing that we do, like for example here, we think about the end-to-end. The first thing that Falcora does is that entire node intelligence. So we read the node from nisap.com. We get the information from the Patch Tuesday, for example. But then we have different agents that run over those nodes and try to understand and try to get more information to what really happened, or what's really the change about. Why is it risky? Is it exploitable? What are detection mechanisms to counter it, and so on. So for every single node, we add more information. So we say, for example, here it's likely exploitable. Even though SAP says it's a correction with medium priority, but we, based on the analysis that we do with a lot of intelligence, says no, this is likely exploitable. So it's really something you should patch. So we get all the information. We see implementation status across our landscape. So the more systems you have connected, the more we will see here. And then we have different summaries. We have researcher summary. We have like what's the root cause of it, like technical analysis to really understand like what's affected by it, and so on. So we do a lot of analysis all the way down to the code. So we also analyze the code changes, because when we, not for all of the nodes, but for some of the nodes that also require code changes, we also analyze the code changes to really understand like what's going on. And then we establish a validation plan. So how can we validate it? How can we do the detection? And then obviously also a couple other things along with it. So we established that as first thing, just to give you more information about really what's the security node, the patch about. We don't leave it there. Like I said, we think about the end-to-end process. That's similar to our incidents, similar to the cases here. So for example, here we run the triage. So we have a triage agent that runs against all those nodes. And then it tells us here in a simple dashboard, okay, there's like 1,001 node right now that are awaiting my decision. So there are hot news or patches that were analyzed. So we did the node intelligence. So we try to understand what is the change about, why is it critical, is it exploitable, and so on. And then the triage agent tells us, okay, this is a hot news, and we recommend, because this is a very urgent news that has a very high CVSS score, this really should be patched right now. So this is very urgent because it's highly exploitable and so on. It's also an old node. You can see it's from like an old patch day. And then it already tells us, okay, the decision here should really be this is urgent and patch now. So that's the decision that the AI tells us here. And then we can just decide. So we as a human, as a system owner, for example, I'm the one making the decision. I can obviously overpower. So if I don't agree with the AI, that's okay. We can also say, okay, let's do that in the next maintenance window and so on. That's possible, but otherwise it would be patch now, and here would be that we could do good rationals, because the tool is self-learning. So the better information we provide, the better it is. But then here again, it's our decision. So we submit what our decision is, and then the process continues. So this now is decided. So for example, here, this now needs to be patched right away. It creates a ticket that's fully customizable, whether you use Jira, ServiceNow, Charm, and so on. We can customize that, and then it creates the ticket there. And then from here now, we're just polling the status. So we're making sure we're checking the status again. And once Basis, because Basis team needs to implement that, once Basis reports back that it has been patched, then we say, okay, it goes into our awaiting verification, and then we verify. So we say here, okay, Basis reported the patch to be implemented, but we haven't confirmed yet because it's still pending the verification whether the patch really has been properly implemented or not in our landscape. Okay, so we don't trust if someone tells us we did it. We want to confirm, and once it's confirmed, we can also, it will be status verified, and then it's fully patched. Obviously, around the process, and here we're just very high level, we have a lot of dashboards or different views to get into data. So we have different ways to show it and display and work with the tool. There's also dashboards that we can use. If you don't like the lists and some of the views, we have also different dashboards that allow us to drill into the news and go from here. So there's different ways how we can interact with the tool to get to what we want. Again, very important, the human in the loop is center for us. So Falcora doesn't decide by itself. It enriches, it qualifies, it gives us recommendations. Like, for example, in this example here, it gives us the, clicked the wrong key on my keyboard. It gives us the recommendation of what it would do, but we have to make the ultimate decision, and then it triggers whatever we decide and follows. And again, it's self-learning. So if we say, hey, if Falcora says 10 times, this is what you should do, but I overrule it every single time, it will learn. So the human feedback is valued more than what it thinks itself. And that's why it's also important when we use a tool like this, that we really provide, good feedback. We shouldn't just say, Alessandro said so, because next time he doesn't know what that means. So we should always justify, like, why do we disagree, especially if we disagree. In many cases, the same thing for all our cases. If there's like a verdict, like same thing here. If there's a verdict, then I give my, this is now for an incident. If I say, okay, Falcora says it's improper operation. If I agree, all good. But if I disagree, then it wants me to justify it. So why do you disagree? And that's very, very important, because that's that self-learning. So that's very deeply integrated. And then, again, we get to the next level where we have, more and more automations. With that, Moritz, given the time, I think we go back to the slides.
We have 5 minutes left. Yeah, let me share my screen again.
Mm-hmm. And then while you pull it up, if there's any questions, you can just type it into the Q&A box, and we'll try to answer them either throughout the last couple of minutes, or we'll follow up later if something cannot be answered within the session.
Does it work?
You're showing your entire screen, so we see the next slides as well.
Just a second.
Now we see a black screen. At least I see a black screen. No, here we go. You're good.
Okay. I guess we have 5 minutes left. Maybe time for questions. Yeah. So we're now on the wrap up. Yeah. I guess a really important takeaway for you for the session is that we are not where's Falcora located. Yeah. Especially what I mentioned before, or at the beginning of the slide, Falcora is not a part of detect or response directly. I would say it's more a layer between. Yeah, it's a kind of AI assistance on the operation layer, yeah, to work with alerts, yeah, coming up from SIEM solutions, or in addition for security nodes and so on, and with upcoming modules like response and so on. So it's between there, yeah, and it supports you, yeah, to stop the blind spot here with it, yeah, to integrate it, SAP security monitoring stuff into your landscape, into your processes. How do you handle security monitoring within your company? And this is really important stuff that you, yeah, takes this please with you as a takeaway for the presentation today. Yeah. Yes, and again, if you would like to request a POC or any kind of demo, yeah, you can click the link, and I guess we will share the slides later. Okay. And last but not least, yeah, there's the forecast for the next session. Yeah, we plan in August an additional session, what we've already triggered a little bit. That's the idea to show you here how we can bring SAP security into security operations, yeah, enterprise security operations. That's important. We will break the silos with Falcora. That's the plan to show it you, and that's what the point what Alessandro told you, that we will focus here more on the demo stuff. That means we will take a look on the system and show it how it works with real examples. Yeah. And that happens with session number 3 as well. Here we'll focus on the response stuff, the SOAR stuff, yeah, to see how an automated containment works with Falcora. And this webinar is planned in September 16. Yeah. Right, yeah, and if you would like to join this additional webinars, you can register here with a link. Yeah. So I guess we have now a couple of minutes for questions. Do you have any questions here in this round?
I don't see any in the questions box, Moritz.
Mm-hmm.
So everything must have been clear, or people are overwhelmed, one or the other.
Okay. And this is not the case, yeah. Yeah, then let's close the webinar for today. Yeah, maybe Tobias, do you would like to close it, or should I?
No, that's fine. Then thank you very much for your attendance, and have a nice day.
Yeah, thank you so much. Bye bye.